Contrary to what many of us productivity gurus would say, productivity systems are not one size fits all for different career types. So today, let's take a look at 6 different jobs and see what common foundations and building blocks for productivity systems you can implement so you can excel at your job. The 6 different career types we're going to take a look at today are creators, managers, engineers, support, academia, and marketing. And we'll take a little bit of time to dive into each one of them. First, let's start with creators. Creators, in my mind, aren't just the idea of content creators like I am here on YouTube. Creators are more akin to the makers of Paul Graham's famous article, Makers and Managers. I'll put a link in the description to that if you're interested in reading a little bit further. So the idea here, though, is someone who primarily spends their time delivering value through things that they make. This can be videos and long-form articles or courses, but it can also be reports or deliverables or things that are beneficial inside of an organization. These are people who primarily spend their time making things out of nothing or transforming information from one form of work into another. So their primary focus is deep work. For a creator to be successful, they have to intently focus. And instead of getting drawn all about by all sorts of different types of work and things going on around them, this is the only way they're going to bring inherent value. And so taking a look at a productivity system and some of the basics here for a creator, this is really centered around the concept of time blocking. While a to-do list and a list of projects might be important to keep track of, where the real value for a creator comes in is blocking that most valuable, highest energy time off and diving in to do that. Now, there might be some auxiliary elements to a productivity system for a creator, such as a content calendar if you're a true creator like myself, to-do lists or project management type apps, Todoist, OmniFocus, Things3 of that sort. You might have a PKM system because you might need to keep track of information that you're learning that you can transform into something else, and then obviously email and communication style applications. But the biggest thing at the center here is if a creator can build their productivity system around managing their time and their energy well, they will go a long way to be successful. Next, let's take a look at managers. Managers are kind of the antithesis in some ways of a creator, because instead of focusing on delivering value through making things, managers are making sure things get made. They're in charge essentially of the people that they are leading and making sure that they are able to get the work done that they need to, and that group that they're in charge of is hitting the goals that the company has set. So as a result, even though managers might have day-to-day tasks that they do and even need deep work in their schedule, their primary focus is on relationships. So where as a creator might have 4 hours in the morning blocked off for deep work, a manager might have a couple hours 2 different times in the week because the rest of their week is filled up with meetings or other tasks, more minor projects that they need to handle and quickly move through or delegate. This is why I think the best system for a manager at the center is some kind of a GTD-focused task manager. I'm not the biggest practitioner of GTD myself, but when I was a manager, GTD was the core of my system because I was able to manage lots of big picture projects and tiny picture projects at the same time in the same tool. Things were moving quickly. I had to capture to-do items as I went. And so having a GTD setup at the center I think is really important for many managers. Obviously, there's email that's involved in other communication. The calendar is going to be a big one for managers too, because managers tend to be more heavy on meetings. And then having some sort of a reference or PKM system is also helpful so that you can keep track of the relevant information that you need in order to stay on top of the projects and the varied work that you are doing at any given moment in time. Moving on to engineers. Engineers, in my mind, are a type of creator, but there were enough differences in a productivity system that an engineer might use for their job that I thought it was interesting enough to pull out. So again, as with creators, engineers are primarily focused on deep work. And so while time blocking is an auxiliary part of the productivity system for an engineer, the backlog is really the place where engineers should focus because their work naturally lends to deep work. And so the backlog is the place where all of the tasks an engineer or an engineering team reside, things that they need to do, projects that they're going to take on, features, bug fixes, things of that sort. And so this is where an engineer is going to focus. Now, what's interestingly different about this is that it's not individual always, unless you're a solo engineer working on a project by yourself. This is something that is more collective. A group of engineers, a team of engineers, will be working off a backlog. If you can focus and prioritize your backlog as where your work gets done, then I think that you'll be better off in the long run. But as you can see here, we have time blocking as a way to make sure you get those focused hours of development time. Email and other communication, again, because that's just a requirement in the workplace these days, but you do have to be able to manage it well. And then an auxiliary task list of some sort for the items that don't necessarily fit on a backlog, but still need to get done in the workplace. Some folks use an app like Todoist or a GTD style app for this. Others use Post-it notes, text files, command line, to-do list applications, bullet journal, whatever it is they might have on hand. But again, here, the big focus for engineers, in my mind, is to center the work on the backlog, because this is where the value is generated for engineers, is in working through that backlog. Heading on over to support. This is something that I have found interesting in my life because I've spent a lot of my career in technical support, also having been interested in productivity. I found myself wanting to use a task tool more, but in reality, just like with engineers, the work ended up somewhere else. Now, due to customer support being largely dealing with a high volume of incoming customer support requests, the primary focus for a support person is speed and efficiency. So they're not going to be focusing on getting quote-unquote deep work done. Their main aim is to work directly with customers to resolve problems and get responses to them as quickly and efficiently as possible. So the main focus for a productivity system for a support person would be the ticketing system. This is where the high value work for a support person piles up. But that's not to say that there aren't a need for an auxiliary task list, and again, email and other communications. There are other things that are happening as part of this role that need to get tracked and done, but the main focus is the ticketing system. Now, what's also interesting here is a knowledge management system. This is a little bit different from a PKM, personal knowledge management system, because you want to have something that's shareable across the team. And so a lot of times support personnel will have a wiki or some kind of database or shared notebook where they're jotting down information about how you can solve specific problems if they rise again, different types of processes and workflows and runbooks and things of that sort. All in a shared knowledge management environment, documentation library, if you will. A personal knowledge management system might be helpful for a support person as well if they're looking to learn something, but generally support is a team effort, and so the majority of support in a productivity system sense happens at a team level, but having some ways to manage some information on your own is also beneficial. Heading on over to academia. This is one where I'll be honest, I have the least familiarity with it, but having watched folks like Danny Hatcher talk about how he does work and manages things, to me it seems like a lot of academics would really benefit from having a PKM software at the core of their productivity workflow. And here is why. There's a lot of research involved, and that research gets transformed into contributions, white papers, published papers, course outlines, and syllabi, and things of that nature. But obviously, there are other things, just like any other job, that you need to handle. Email, communications. Calendar is probably important for academics as well, especially if they're teaching classes, because you need to have those times blocked out. You'll have office hours where students can come talk to you, and then an auxiliary to-do list, a place where you can manage the other things that need to happen. Cal Newport's systems, I think, work really well for academia because he is primarily an academic himself. And so if you want to check out more of that, read his books, Deep Work, Digital Minimalism, and A World Without Email. Lastly, let's take a look at marketing. Marketing is an interesting field because there are so many different aspects to it. And a lot of times, those who work in marketing are doing many, many different things. And so the primary focus of a marketer is all over the place. Sometimes it's digging into analytics software. Sometimes it's digging into performance marketing. Other times it's writing content. It depends on your role. It depends on the company. Sometimes companies are more specialized. Sometimes it's more generalist. It really just depends. But this is where a marketer, their main productivity is going to center around some kind of project management app. Think ClickUp, Asana, maybe Notion. This is a big picture place where lots of different activities can be stored because there are so many different kinds of projects and activities and collaborations happening for marketers. That's another big thing with marketing too, is that it's a very collaborative field. To try to do marketing all by yourself is absolutely exhausting. And so one of the first things many marketers do is hire in freelancers or build their team out. And so having some kind of a project management app where it's built for collaborating with others and managing projects across a wide variety of modalities, including content calendars and social media calendars, things of that sort. This is where those types of project management apps like ClickUp and Asana really shine for marketers. But also, calendaring is going to be really important because a lot of meetings with marketers, email communications, obviously also really important. And then time blocking is another aspect of marketing because there are so many varied responsibilities and there's a balance you have to strike between the maker side of marketing and the management side of marketing. And so time blocking is crucial for marketers to be able to dive in and really get valuable work done. So there you have it. 6 different career types and the basic productivity foundations for each. Now, I know that the way you build your system in these different career types may look completely different from this, then that's okay. The goal of this video is to give you a couple of different tools and starting points if you're not sure where to begin. Now, if you're interested in going a little bit deeper in one of these subjects, take a look at this video over here on time blocking and how to start managing your time well.